I managed to get a little bit of flying in at the other end of Boars Hill in March, just before Storm Ciara hit. Soon afterwards, a darker and far deadlier storm hit, and the nation entered lockdown under the fist of the coronavirus pandemic. Although at the time technically permitted, and almost certainly safe, I concluded that standing alone in the field, ripping a couple of packs, just felt wrong. So, having already locked down for the duration, I self-corrected. Even though it's not great for the health of the cells, I tend to keep some packs charged and ready just in case I get the opportunity to go out flying. But since I'm not likely to be able to get out for several weeks now, I may as well put them all into storage bondage. Well, that's my packs all discharged and put away snugly until it's safe to go out again. Night night. What is that? He wants his teddy. Night night. There's absolutely no way that I'm going to survive several weeks without going out to fly, especially if the weather is going to turn out like this. I mean, typical. It's been nothing but rain and storms up until we have to stay inside. Then, the bloody sun comes out. Typical. I reckon it's time to upgrade my dear old Hubsan 107L. I took the flight controller out so I can transplant it into a new body that I bought ages ago. This one has a camera. Several years ago, I took this little chap on one of our semi-regular trips to Singapore. I had one of those snazzy little 808 keychain cameras, and this was my run cam back in the day. I fancied doing a little aerial photography in the nearby park, so I hooked up with the local hackerspace, and they kindly let me use their tools to attach the camera board to the underside of my tiny drone. The results weren't great, but it was fun, and I made a couple of friends at the hackerspace. The little flight controller is pretty cute, so let's take a little look at it before I install it. The CPU by Nuvoton has a fairly impressive spec. It's a 32-bit microcontroller running at 16 MHz here, though it can run up to 24 MHz. Two sensor chips, the Yenvensense NPI 3050 gyro is pretty respectable. The datasheet says it can run up to 32 kHz, but not on all axes. That's paired with an N-Cube 3210 accelerometer. At the bottom here towards the front of the drone is the Amicom A7105 transceiver for the radio, with a little board antenna etched below it. Finally, up to 4 little N-channel MOSFETs to drive the motors. And this last chip is the 3-volt regulator for the processors. Just 2 tiny screws hold the board in place. I use a plastic bottle cap to keep screws safe when I'm working. This stops them rolling about all over the place. Always tin and clean your soldering iron tip. Soldering up the motors and arm LEDs is a slightly fiddly job, not made much easier by the camera and lights in my way. The motors are directional, presumably down to the direction that the brushes sit on the stator, so they've colour-coded the wires to make sure you can identify them. Well, that's the motors wired up, just the LEDs to go. All the wires just tuck into little channels in the arms. Now, something I did on the original frame was to put a cable tie around the power wire, as there's no built-in strain relief. A couple of holes in the top of the shell are needed. Now solder the power for the camera in the lower part of the body. The body just clips together and holds with 2 screws, which I put in later. A clever little feature on these little hub sand drones is the shock relief on the arms. They pop out if you have a hard landing to avoid breaking. Then you just clip them back in and you're away. Finally, tighten up the cable tie and check that it doesn't foul the props. All done. Let's give it a test then. Of course, you should never test any drone inside with the props on. Otherwise, but after all that, does it fly? Of course it does, like a beauty. Watch out for the next episode for some footage from this little chap. I just have to learn how to fly LOS again. Stay tuned, stay home, and above all, stay safe. Catch you later.